the all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Here at Creekside Outfitters on Route 9 in Waretown, we're the area's #1 dealer for the new qualified captain clothing line. Hats, straw hats, visors, and t-shirts, looking cool when you're living life Creekside.
A short week. Hopefully a lot of you folks were able to get the 4 days off following the Memorial Day holiday on Monday. Turn it into a really beautiful vacation week and turn it into a pleasant one with some really nice weather as well. It's Thursday, May 30th. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, but as I mentioned last week, I'm not in New Jersey or the Delaware Bay region this week, but I'm heading for Key West to try out some new tackle from the folks at Penn and Fenwick. If you followed anything that I did last year when I went away to Orlando and went to ICAST and spent 48 hours in the Orlando airport, Newark Airport's pretty nice too, because that's where I've been stuck for hours yet again. Now I'll have more to report on this little junket a little more than a month out from ICAST at this point as well. So as we continue to try products and spend more time in the airport, I'll give you that lowdown. But at this point, as I always say, when the cat's away, the mice will play, or in a sense, fish. Another thing I referenced in last week's video fishing forecast was the stretch of warm weather leading into the holiday stretch of weekend that we just had. And I thought it would really kind of lead to some bang-up fluking at the Jersey Shore. And for the most part, the reports that we got at thefisherman.com doing the weekly reports this week, it would seem to be the case. Now, personally, I was able to sneak away with a couple of good friends on Saturday morning for the holiday weekend. Well, it was the busting of the chops and loading up the box. Truth be told, we came up a little bit short. 2 fish short of a full box of fluke, but we also had to quit roughly about 11 a.m. to prep for the weekend with family and friends. So yeah, the back bays and salty rivers, I think, are the place to be right now for your fluking options. Finally had water temperatures into the 70s. Fluking over the weekend. It was like 63 the week before and 73 this past week. And while I'm proud of my crew, young Drew McCormick, he fished circles around the rest of us along the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay on Saturday morning. Farther south, I heard from Captain Dave Ricci of Blue Eyes Fishing, who said 12-year-old Vincenzo Ricci got his first fluke of the season, a couple of them, 22.5 and a 19.5 on drifts 1 and drifts 2 of the season. They were using the Andros Lure Tap Dancer rig with white gulp along Beach Thoroughfare, and what Mike said, it was right there within eyesight of the house in Ocean City. Lots of beautiful flounder came in again today. That was the report that we got from Ray Scott's dock in nearby Margate. The folks there saying bluefish have been scattered all around the back bays behind Margate, Atlantic City, Ocean City, consider the same thing. Now, the advice I'd offer to folks who are working the backwaters for summer flounder, if you get a fish or two working adrift, you're going in between a couple of cans, right? And you get a patch of fish and then you keep drifting and nothing, don't do those endless drifts for miles and miles. Make them short drifts where you can, get the best action, be willing to make a couple of moves, quick hitters, stay on those patches. But again, if you find a patch of fish, keep short drifting it, see if you can't catch a few more. I heard from Captain Bobby Bogan aboard the Gambler out of Point Pleasant. He reported into field editor Ashley Viola this week. Reports are over at thefisherman.com. Said they're not catching too many fluke inshore on the ocean structure just yet, but he expects that will begin soon. But he just did a couple of test drifts because Bobby's out there catching some of those black sea bass. He said good fish are in the mix as well. Is that my flight? No, still not my flight. So Bobby says it's black sea bass. He's catching some ling as well. A lot of the party boats in New Jersey are saying the same thing. We had some cod in the mix as well of late. I heard from the Ildefonso clan this week. Young Elle here, she got her first ever cod while fishing on the Jamaica 2. Again, over the weekend, out of the Manasquan Inlet area. So if you're looking for fluke on the inshore wrecks, reefs, and snags, not just yet, but maybe by the time black sea bass comes to a close in the middle of June, that's probably going to be a good time when everybody's putting a lot of pressure on those inshore snags and reefs as well. Michael Bascombe also had a 12-pound cod on a local reef out of Cape May recently. Extraordinary, he said in an email this week, and I agree, quite. Seeing those cod stretch out all along the coast at this point. The problem we have is the regulations. This Friday, May 31st, will be your last chance to keep a cod until September 1st. The 5-fish bag, 23-inch size limit is over after Friday. Then it's all black sea bass, ling, and fluke as we head into the month of June and our summer months at the Jersey Shore. There are some weakfish around on the back bays and along the jetties as well. Bayside Dave Edelman checked in good weakfish at Surf City Bait and Tackle over the weekend. Try tossing those pink zooms or the pink finesse on a jig head along the sod banks and jetty rocks dusk till dawn. If you go back in one of the recent articles by Matt Broderick at the Fisherman magazine, I believe that was the May edition, you can find out some of Matt's favorite soft plastics, the finesse, also the NLBNs, those smaller jig head, the twos, the size twos, right? Good idea. Pink gulp on a jig head will get you a fluke in the wash as well, possibly even a surprise jumbo striper. That's the way we heard it. A surprise catch and release for Sloan Endick, who was throwing around a pink gulp grub curly tail in the LBI surf over the weekend and caught this nice striped bass. That's according to the folks at Fisherman's headquarters. Now the folks at Hands 2 Bait and Tackle down in Cape May, they suggested cheddar crab for the weekies. It resulted in a 5-pounder there in Cape May over the weekend. Now personally, I think cheddar crab is one of the very best baits you can get for a whole variety of inshore species. Something about that pheromone emitted from a female crab just brings predators from all around to take advantage of those cheddar crabs. Small pieces of cheddar on a bucktail, drift and jigged along a quiet channel or a slough in the back bays can get a bite. Also, the way we used to fish around the West Creek area, we'd find these little potholes, anchor up along the edge, 3-way rig, small hook, sometimes put out a chum pot with clam or some of the shedders in there as well, but put a piece of shedder on that 3-way rig. It's a great idea if you're hand lining for crab sometime this summer. At least put a rod and reel out, put a line baited with cheddar crab out there. I've also used cheddar crab for sheepshead. On a jig head, on one of those tog jigs when the sheepshead come in. Now the rumor mill has it, as of the Memorial Day weekend, that the sheepshead have come in. 1 or 2 of them caught over the Memorial Day weekend. Hua Win said he knows they're in, and that's why he's moving his boat from the Ortley area where he's taking advantage of the striper fishing, but he's moving back down to Stone Harbor to take advantage of those sheepshead now that they're in. Now Danny Schaefer from an Insomniac Guide Service and Bottom Sweeper Jigs, he's always told me that he believes those sheepshead come in with the black drum. Black drumming, of course, is still solid in Delaware Bay, and the rumor is that Danny's already on the sheepshead. So the sheepshead are there providing another opportunity. Fiddlers, greenies, shedders, all viable baits on a tog jig if you want to give sheepshead fishing a shot in the South Jersey, I'd even say Central Jersey areas this year. And yes, my friends, striped bass as well. Still plenty of striped bass opportunities throughout the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region, heading up into New York Bight as well. Captain Steve from Hook and Fin Fishing Charters out of Monmouth Cove Marina had a blast over the weekend once the fog cleared around Sandy Hook. And yeah, bass can still be caught on the beach. We saw Sloan's catch earlier in this segment. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle in Brigantine said on Monday that the fish are still hanging around. He had Lauren P. stop in, checked in with a catch and release that she caught on clam. Of course, if you're getting clam at Riptide Bait and Tackle, it's a Riptide Rada. There's been a lot of hand-wringing about the lack of bunker this spring. Again, I think it's natural. I think it's cooler water, a lot of rain, who knows. But I don't think there's some grand culprit here. There's certainly no evidence to indicate that it's the reduction fleet taking too much of the bunker. they could be the dastardly villain, I don't know. But we did get a lot of menhaden reported along the Jersey Shore this past weekend. Perhaps the warming, the diminished rainfall in the Jersey Shore, New Jersey, Delaware Bay region is leading to more of that inshore bait fish that we love so much for catching stripers and of course bluefish as well. Lou Grazioso told me that he had the Raritan family out on the bass pretty good. So yeah, live bunker, flutter spoons, the top waters, the poppers and spooks. If you're heading out the inlet this week into this weekend, you want to make sure that you have those lures ready to go just in case you do stumble into one of those blitzes with bunker on top and the bass hitting them. You always want to be prepared for whatever's going to pop up along the surface, even during the summer months. Now, I bring all this up because it's pretty good timing. This Saturday, the High Marsh Striper Tournament, June 1st, that's presented by the High Marsh Striper Club, and it's in honor of the late, great Phil Sorrentino Sr. from the Tackle Box. The captain's meeting will be held on Friday night, Ross Brewery, that's down in Belford, right across from the Belford Co-op. I highly recommend the Fish Finder if you're there at Ross Brewery. Speaking of fish finders, the Huber boys, Dennis and Tommy, they trailered north over the Memorial Day weekend to put some eels out for jumbo stripers, catch and release. They did well. The Hubers also took advantage of the fact that their boat's on a trailer. They were down in Cape May for the drum bite one day, and then they put the eels under the planers for those stripers up off the hook as well. It's the Chuck Manny method of eeling. It's become a very popular method of catching and releasing some of those jumbo striped bass. And I'm sure with the High Mar tournament this weekend, there's going to be a run on live eels. Now, Chuck has deployed countless gray fish tag, spaghetti tags into striped bass, and has also put his fair share of those mini-pat satellite tracking devices as well, which have shown that his tactics for catching and safely releasing striped bass, it works. Incredible distances on some of the bass that he's released. So what does it take for a guy like Chuck to catch and release safely some of these jumbo stripers? Well, on this week's open boat, Jenny Ackerman, she talks with Chuck on how to properly fight and release striped bass, an important consideration when releasing those personal bests in the next couple of weeks. And with regulations being what they are, with that 28 to 31 inch size limit, even if you're going for a keeper, you're going to have to take care of those stripers that we release because, I mean, literally, the future of striped bass is in our hands. Oh, I'm boarding, finally, I'm boarding.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat, episode 50. Let's go. 50, we made it. So we're here, we're at Striper Quest. We're here with Captain Chuck Manny of the Timon, and you know Chuck, he catches giant bass like every single day, basically. A lot of fish too. You're all over the place.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
So Captain Chuck is going to give you a little bit of rundown for beginners out there on the boat, because if you go on his boat, you're going to catch a 50-pounder, and if you're your first time,
I wish.
You're going to need to know those proper steps on how to fight that fish.
Okay. Well, the biggest key to fighting a big striped bass is to be chill. Just chill out. Everybody gets on the ride and they try to yank it in. Don't try to beat up the fish and be stronger than the fish. Use the reel. The reel is made. That's what it's made for. So you just get in the back of the boat and just chill, and you'll get the feel of when he's pulling drag, when he's not pulling drag, when he's not pulling drag. Kind of lean. I got a lot of fat here. I lean back, get a little line, lean back, get a little line, nice and smooth, never herky-jerky, right? Especially with circle hooks, never herky-jerky, and just be super chill, and you'll get that fish of a lifetime in every time, trust me.
Perfect. Can we get one more woo for episode 50 of Open Boat?
Woo! 5-0, baby, 5-0.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Need boat insurance? There's a reason Muller Insurance Agency has been in business for over a century. When you need them most, their commitment to service and support will give you peace of mind and protect your investment. Visit MullerInsurance.com or call 201-659-2403.
You know, the greatest thing about the Jersey Shore in the summer is you don't have to fly to get there for most people, because flying bites. I'll tell you what though, the Poconos got pretty busy for the holiday weekend as well. I know that from talking to George, our Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, we're definitely in the unofficial start of summer, and as it normally does this time of year with the holiday weekend, well, the tourists really flooded in and invaded all of our good fishing spots. But this is typical this time of year, guys. We go through it every year, and we shouldn't be surprised. Best thing to do is if you want to get on those bodies of water, be sure you get out early and off before those jet skiers and other recreational boaters get on. But not everybody was having trouble. You know, some guys did escape finding some of those more off the beaten paths, getting into some good fishing. I had my good friend Rich Bates. He checked in. He got a nice largemouth from his kayak up near Promised Land State Park, and he got that on an Owaki rig worm. So great work there, Rich. There are fish to be had. Also, Jay Batcha, he was in a small lake by Honesdale, and he managed to get into a stringer full of nice black crappie. So there's nothing wrong with that, no matter where you're at. Good work there, Jay. Also, the trout fishing still is good. The water is still cool enough. You can catch and release those trouts. My good friend Eric Goodstall getting a really nice brown trout on the fly this time of year. And finally, I'm going to wrap things up with Matt Taylor. Well, he checked in, and his grandson, young Mateo, managed to get his very first bass out this past weekend. It's a really nice catch and a future angler here out here in the Pocono area. Good work there, Mateo. Guys, don't let the crowds get to you, but there's plenty of fishing to be had. Just find those off the beaten path spots, and I'm sure you'll get on them just as well. Guys, get out and get on them. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Oh, flying is a nightmare. And it was a nightmare getting here, but it's a dream to be in Key West. Speaking of which, let's check in with Tim Smith, see what's going on with the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge.
We had quite a few entries come in from this Memorial Day weekend. We had 2 sea robins, first from Dan Solomon of South Setauket, Long Island, weighing in at 2.8 pounds. Then Leroy Myers from Connecticut with a 2.35 pound bird. Next, we had 2 entries for the porgy category. First, from Jerry Tomatos, weighing in at 2.32 pounds. Then Anthony Savino once again hitting the board with a scup of 2.06 pounds. The Weakfish category is getting filled up with 3 new entries. We had our first New Jersey entry by Pete James with a tiderunner of 5.11 pounds. And then there's Kyle Kraus from the North Fork of Long Island with a 5.55 pounder. And from Connecticut, Fernando Leger had a 6.20 pounder. So the leaderboard looks like this. Anthony Savino with 23 points, Frank Shea with 10, and tied with Frank is Dan Solomon with 10. Just a reminder, for your chance to win the grand prize, Steigercraft powered by Yamaha, and the other great prizes, you need to be a subscriber to the magazine and use a 2024 entry form filled out completely, available at thefisherman.com/contests. It was another busy week in the Coastal Kayak Clash. We saw the biggest bass of the year entered by New Jersey's Bob Wagner at 48.5 inches, who also topped the bluefish category with a 37-inch gator. 2 nice fluke also made the board, a 24-incher landed by Long Island's William Mabanta, and a 25.25-incher boated by New Jersey's fluke diehard Gregory Vergere. Rhode Island yacker Todd Trezone dropped 2 leaderboard-worthy fish this week with a 19.75-inch weakfish and a 12.5-inch porgy. The top of the leaderboard looks like this. We have Mike Radzewinski in 3rd place with 5 points, Bob Wagner in 2nd place with 6 points, and CKC All-Star Justin Oser sitting at the top with 9 points. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. Get all the details at thefisherman.com/contests.
Finally! Did I mention that I hate flying? Finally here at the Ocean Edge Resort, Stock Island in Key West for this pen trip. Hey, you know, folks ask me quite a bit about the status of the mako shark fishery. And I'll put it to you the way it was put to me over the winter. My friend Nick, he's heavily involved in ICAT, which is the overseas tuna stuff, the HMS. We were talking during the winter show season, I believe it was with Jenny Ackerman, and I asked my buddy Nick about the status of mako sharks, and he pointed at me as an old man, and he said, not in your lifetime, but then he pointed at young Jenny and he said, maybe in hers. This is a global issue, folks, and I don't see us having a mako shark fishery probably for not another 30 years or so. U.S. government, I'll be honest with you, doesn't really do a great job of fighting internationally on our behalf as fishermen. Perhaps they should. But mako sharks are a prohibited species, and they must be released. They will be for a long time. It doesn't mean that a mako shark isn't going to come barreling through your spread. Case in point, Randy Hallett said he was trolling the canyons for tuna on Saturday when this mako took a bite out of the plug. So the makos are there, we just don't have any access to them. The Jersey Nuts crew, which runs out of Atlantic City and also out of the Manasquan, had a nice offshore report on Sunday saying the keeper-sized bluefin are chomping along the edge, which is good news for you canyon runners. Some good news coming out from the migratory species folks at NOAA Fishery. So bad news on mako, but here's some good news on bluefin. Again, I got to thank the work of guys like Nick Cicero, who I mentioned before, Ray Bogan, Captain Mike Pierdonock of New England, Ricky Weber here we're back home in Cape May, whole host of other angling reps who fought for this. But private vessels with an HMS permit will get 2 school fish, 27 to 47 inches, 1 small medium. That's from 47 to less than 73 inches. If you're on a 6-pack, you get 3 school fish and 1 small medium. And finally, a directed headboat fishery returns this year, first time in a long time. 12 school bluefin tuna for the boat, 2 small medium. Will wonders never cease? Again, we used to have a directed headboat fishery for bluefin tuna many, many moons ago. So it's nice to see that again. So if you're looking to get out for some bluefin, this is going to be a nice option for you when some of these headboats start targeting some of those bluefin as a directed fishery. The first reported yellowfin of the season, 2 of them were registered over the holiday weekend down at Lewis Harbor Marina in Delaware as Jack Giles, Mickey Frederick, CJ Fritchman, Carson Kammerer, and Joe Giles were on the bus. That's the name of the charter boat. Found a couple of tuna to weigh in back at the marina. Now, in next week's digital edition of the Fisherman magazine, New Jersey, Delaware Bay, we'll see the return of Tom P's Offshore Report, a seasonal addition to the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition lineup to help you gear up for fishing the edge. This week, of course, the latest reports for North Jersey, Central Jersey, South Jersey, freshwater, beach report, Delaware as well. It's all in that weekly edition. It's posted over at thefisherman.com. That full edition of the magazine is available to you subscribers. It's digital only. Great cover. If you click on it at thefisherman.com, you'll find it. You'll find it in your email from earlier this week. But that photo was sent to us from Captain Pete Sykes up there in Belmar. The June edition of the Fisherman magazine, the printed copy is what you'll find in newsstands right now with Sean Smeda and his Barnegat Bay drum on the cover. The table of contents for the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition says it all about our local action now that we're heading into the first official weekend of June. Make sure you check out that calendar of events for the month, all the upcoming activities. I mentioned already the Highmar Striper Tournament on Saturday. We also have a free fishing day in New Jersey on Saturday. No license, no trout stamp. If you want to try your hand at freshwater fishing, no badges required. That's good news. Also, you've got the 8th annual Mike Ike Iconelli tournament. That's a Pro-Am tournament down in Maryland. The Raging Raymond Fluke tournament out of the Great Bay area. That's a 2-day event hosted this Saturday and Sunday. And of course, Chestnut Neck is hosting their annual Ann and Nuncy Bruno Kids Blue Fishing Tournament. That's on Sunday. You can get all the details by going over and seeing Violet and Marianne at Chestnut Neck Boatyard. Plenty of kids events for this weekend for the free fishing day. The Big D Valley Bassmasters are holding a free fishing event for kids at Kennedy Lake Park. That's in Burlington City. And hot on the heels of a monthly hotspot in the June edition of the Fisherman magazine, Lake Riviera and Brick in Ocean County, the Brick Fishing Derby there at Lake Riviera. You can stop by Jersey Hooker Outfitters, Route 88 in Brick. I'm sure they have all the information, and Amanda can help you get it set up for fishing there at Lake Riviera. Geared up. I'm all geared up. I'm all fired up, actually, on the industrial offshore wind front. I haven't spoken about this in some time, so if you don't like politics, or perhaps you support the industrialization of our Jersey Shore waters in the name of fighting climate change, you can skip the next few minutes of this news report. First, Ørsted, formerly known as Dong, Danish oil and natural gas. They're still involved in fossil fuels, but this week they announced a settlement with the Murphy administration on the $300 million guarantee they promised the state of New Jersey if they didn't come through with all their industrial offshore wind and their undersea cables and all that EMF. Well, they pulled out last year, and we were all cheering about it. I was anyway. And instead of paying $300 million, they settled with Governor Murphy on a scant $125 million. Governor Murphy, in turn, pledged to take that $125 million, not give it back to taxpayers, but he wanted to ramp up the wind energy investments offshore in New Jersey. The spigot never closes. Now on Tuesday, another update for you, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection held a hearing regarding another so-called green energy developer, Atlantic Shores, which happens to be a joint venture of Royal Dutch Shell and EDF Renewables. Shell, you know Shell. Everybody's talking about it's better than oil money. Well, it's Shell we're talking about. So anyway, that public hearing was held at Central High School in Berkeley Township, where fishermen and other industrial offshore wind critics urged the DEP to reject the permit applications. Fat chance, of course. Industrializing the ocean is a hallmark of the Murphy administration and the DEP, despite the fact that most fishermen, myself included, believe that construction of these turbine clusters will threaten our way of life and our fishing at the Jersey Shore. I would ask you to look at the image that's on screen right now. Think about this for a moment. Royal Dutch Shell is proposing to install 200 wind turbines between Atlantic City and Barnegat Light, laying high-powered cable just below the seafloor to bring power ashore at Atlantic City, Seagirt, and Egg Harbor Township. Yeah, the electromagnetic fields emanating from the power cable could impact flounder migration, and the research that I've poured over in the last 5 years does indicate that that's a scientific fact. But consider this. Royal Dutch Shell and EDF Renewables, they're proposing to lay dozens and dozens of miles of cable 5 feet under the bottom, tearing up areas of essential fish habitat, which supposedly is covered under the Magnuson-Stevens Fisheries Conservation and Management Act under the Essential Management Clause, the provisions that protect these ocean habitats. They're blowing through that, and the New Jersey DEP is clearly ignoring this environmental protection provision as well. So, NOAA Fisheries, the DEP, every elected official from New Jersey, from New Jersey to Washington, D.C., risking our ocean environment by laying this cable, high-powered cable, and we can go to all the public meetings we want to go to, and it's always the same song and dance. By the way, Governor Murphy, this one's for you. Remember what Ørsted did to you last Halloween? They pulled up stakes and they said, we're out of here, and they owed $300 million and you had to settle for $125. Well, the British petroleum giant Shell, the Atlantic Shores folks, they also announced this week that they're preparing to cut staff from its offshore wind business as the company, quote, moves the company away from the capital-intensive renewable energy sector. We're going to go through this for years. And for folks who are keeping score at home, we are 523 days away from the next gubernatorial election in New Jersey. Finally this week, for those keeping score on my predictions and back to the fishing, I mentioned last week in the video fishing forecast that I predicted the first double-digit doormat fluke of the season. How about this? Wednesday this week, my good friend Skip Lerman, Captain Skip Lerman, freshwater captain up at Lake Hopatcong, loves to fish the salt as well. He happens to be a Penn Pro staffer, by the way. Well, Skip let me know that he got his personal best on Wednesday, fishing with Captain Frank Massera aboard the Vitamin C. 29 inches, 11 pounds, on gulp, 20 feet of water on the Raritan Bay. Like I said, when the cat's away, the mice, well, they'll play. And so will the fluke. Should be a good week of fishing back home. I'll be down here until Saturday and then back home. So make sure you fish as much as you possibly can. Bringing back some good content about some new stuff from Penn and Fenwick. Fantastic stuff. I'm here in Florida. It took me forever to get here. And I'll be honest with you, I'm already looking forward to coming home. I'll catch you on the water someplace this weekend. And I'll see you next week right here at thefisherman.com.